Thank you so much, Steph. City health officials are calling it disappointing news. On its first day in operation, the province's first vaccination clinic has already hit a major bump in the road.
We have now been advised by the province that we will only be able to operate this proof of concept clinic for an initial 5 days due to the lack of availability of COVID-19 vaccine.
Thousands of doses were supposed to go to essential workers over the next 6 weeks at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre, but the doors will need to close temporarily on Friday due to a lack of supply. Despite this delay, health officials say the immunization centre will still serve as a blueprint for others across the province. Now, this morning, we're going to be hearing from Ryan Imgren. He's a COVID-19 biostatistician about how far we've come with vaccinations and how this shortage could set us back. So that interview coming up at 7:30 this morning. Now, as we wait for more vaccines, the province is announcing a boost to the hospital system. The newly built Cartalucci Hospital in Vaughan will soon be dedicated to treating only COVID-19 patients when it opens up next month.
This is going to make a massive, massive difference with capacity.
So this facility will provide 185 additional beds, including over 35 critical care beds. Ford also announced an additional $125 million in funding for 500 additional surge beds in those hotspot regions. As of yesterday, the province reporting over 1,500 hospitalizations with 394 patients in the ICU, most of them on ventilators. There is optimism in the fight, though, with experts saying there are signs that this lockdown is working and daily cases are slowly easing.
Mid 3,000, and this last week we've been down below that in the low 3,000s. I take that as a sign that Ontarians are doing what we're doing. We're making success, we're making headway.
But Dr. Williams stresses restrictions should not be lifted until cases drop below that 1,000 mark, which could take about 6 to 7 weeks with everyone continuing to follow the guidelines. Toronto Police, they say officers will be doing everything they can to ensure case numbers stay low, with 65 provincial and criminal charges handed out over the weekend. Of course, the other big story is south of the border. This is Donald Trump's last full day as president of the United States, and it's likely going to be a very busy one. Trump is set to be considering as many as 100 pardons or commutations, but he himself is apparently not among them. Trump will be the first president in more than 150 years to pass on attending the inauguration of the new president. As well, First Lady Melania did not give the traditional White House tour to the incoming First Lady Jill Biden. Trump had no public appearances yesterday. Now, as he prepares to leave the White House, he will get a scaled-back military send-off. That's happening at 8 o'clock tomorrow before jetting off to his Florida home, a far cry from the majestic farewell that he had wanted. Now, one thing Trump did take care of yesterday was lifting the travel ban on parts of Europe and Brazil. But Joe Biden says not so fast. The incoming president will reintroduce those bans to Brazil, the UK, Ireland, and 26 other European countries in an effort to contain the spread of COVID. Just last week, the U.S. signed an order to have all international travelers coming to the U.S. show proof of a negative COVID test upon arrival. Now, in a pre-recorded exit message, First Lady Melania Trump pleads for peace, but makes no specific mention of the violence that rocked Capitol Hill earlier on this month.
Be passionate in everything you do, but always remember that violence is never the answer.
Security crackdowns ahead of tomorrow's inauguration are well underway. The governor of Kansas has ordered her state capital be shut down. Thousands of National Guard troops have arrived in D.C. Look at this, streaming out of a military jet, doing drills ahead of tomorrow's event. Some 25,000 plus troops are expected to be on hand. Now, the U.S. Capitol is under lockdown, and areas around the White House have been fenced off and shut down. All 50 states have been put on notice to expect protests and possible violence. Of course, all eyes will be on Washington these next few days. CNN's Nadia Romero is there. She'll be joining us just after 7 o'clock. We'll be talking about what to expect. But before that, a lot of conversation around this. Have you noticed that your auto insurance rates continue to get more expensive? Coming up in a few minutes' time, 6:30. In this week's What's Driving You Wild, Steph, she's looking at why those prices are soaring, plus tips on how to cut back the bills. And at 7:15, we're speaking with an artist whose work was on display during the Raptors' Martin Luther King celebration last night. And a number of other guests that we have on tap for you today. It's a busy one. And up next, Mike Epple. Canadian Airlines get the go-ahead for the Boeing 737 MAX aircrafts. We'll talk about that rollout coming up.